Welcome to the Wolverine Digest podcast, the best spot for objective and authentic coverage of Michigan athletics. If you want open dialogue, honest opinions, and in-depth coverage of the maize and blue, this is the podcast for you. And now, here's your host, Brandon Brown, joined as always by Chris Brandon.
It is Wednesday, my dudes.
I was going to start by saying go blue.
That guy's my favorite guy. I'm so
there
happy.
It is. Wednesday night, dude. Wednesday night, just about 72, not even 72 hours at this point, right? 70, 60, what? I don't know. 60 hours, we'll call it.
Too many
4
hours.
65 hours.
I'm not even sleeping, man. Are you sleeping? I'm not even sleeping well.
I know you texted me today, like, dude, I'm getting pumped for this shit, bro.
Yeah,
and it's starting to settle in. It's starting to settle in.
Before we get into it, can I want to say something, full disclosure. So I've been a fan for a long time. I'm covering the team now. This Saturday will mark my first game ever as a Michigan fan, seeing a Michigan State game in person.
Wow.
So first time seeing the two teams play, first time in Spartan Stadium, and what a game to kick it off with, right? Like, I can't imagine a better game to like be your first game like in person. So normally I'm more like, I prefer the couch, the sofa at home, the drinking, the beer, the potato chips. Sometimes I'm wearing pants, sometimes I'm not. So this is different for me. Yeah.
There's only one Michigan team that I care about this weekend. Flare up, baby! Just kidding. They don't even play this weekend.
All right, and we are hemorrhaging viewers.
Obviously, Michigan State is huge, and I was on the show today with Jamie Morris, the M Zone, my guys over there at WTKA, and they asked me a question that to me it seemed like a really obvious answer, but I kind of wanted to get your take, Chris. It's I don't think there's any doubt that this is it's huge. We know it's huge. I mean, game day's there, big noon kickoff. The Barstool guys are going to be there. I wonder, what have you thought about this in terms of what the rest of the country is now going to think or see when it comes to Michigan State, the Big Ten East, the game itself, just kind of all of that? Because I wonder up to this point how much, people out west or people down south or people wherever, in Texas, Oklahoma, I wonder how much all of those people have paid attention to what's going on with Michigan and Michigan State, both teams in the top 10, both teams undefeated. And now literally the entire college football world is going to be, putting up sets and doing the show from East Lansing. I mean, how big of a deal does this feel like to you as we kind of get closer and closer to Saturday?
Huge. I mean, I don't think it could get any bigger. I mean, there's two undefeated teams in the Big Ten, and they're playing on Saturday, and it's Michigan State. And if you look at the way the 2020 season went and what both fan bases had to go through. Now, granted, the folks over in East Lansing, at least they had the benefit of getting a win over Michigan, but it was a brutal year for both programs last year. So, not only that they've bounced back this year, but bounced back the way they have. They're both 7-0. They're both ranked in the top 10. And you're right. Everybody, all the big media outlets are descending upon the state of Michigan and East Lansing to see what these two teams are made of. And all you really hope is that you get a really good game between both programs. Of course, I want Michigan to win and Michigan fans want Michigan to win, but I think it's important that both programs come out and at least show that they're for real, that they are legit, top 10 teams, and that you don't have one team just not show up. I think that would be just an awful look for, the Big Ten overall, the Big Ten East, and obviously for whatever team doesn't show up.
I think this is an interesting topic. I'm going to throw Cody Ingles' comment up there because I feel like there's a lot of people that feel this way. He doesn't think that it's really going to get national hype. And I don't know if either opinion is necessarily right or wrong. I mean, for us, we cover it every day. We're in it every day. We're super excited about going. We know the magnitude of it in terms of Michigan's season, the Big Ten East, all of that. But I do think there is some truth to the fact that people out west and other, down south, SEC country might look at this and be like, really? Michigan State? Why the hell are they why are they going there? But I don't really know how you can think that, because
how many undefeated teams are left in college football?
undefeated
Oh, yeah.
team, both
The
top.
rivalry, there's when you look at this game on Saturday, not just like surface level, yeah, they're both top 10 teams. They're both really good. They both look like they could do something this year, but there are so many different layers. The Jim Harbaugh situation, what's going on with Mel Tucker, the rivalry and the hatred between the two teams and the fan bases. There's so many layers to this game and so much to what makes this rivalry great that I said when it looked like game day was going to go elsewhere that I think it was a mistake. I think that it was a mistake for college football. Now, I don't know how the TV contracts work, and I'm not going to pretend to know all that, but I think in general, it was a mistake not to have this game in prime time because generally speaking, like college football fans across the country deserve to see this one. And if you're out on the West Coast, I mean, you got to be up at like 9 o'clock. You got to be up early to get ready for this one. So that's brutal.
Well, Fox has the game. They've got the World Series. So that's an issue. That's a hang up. And there are, I mean, yeah, the Penn State Ohio State game doesn't have quite the glow that it did before Penn State fell to Illinois. I get it. I'm with you. When it first came out, I immediately said like, man, if this was a night game, this should be a night game. I know there are some people who talk about, the powers that be would never let a night game happen between Michigan and Michigan State when it's like this. And I'm like, it happens all the time, all over the country. Big time rivalry games, different parts of the. I mean,
did you see the game between Ole Miss and Tennessee? Like, people get wild, people get crazy. Like this idea that, oh my God, we can't have people drinking all day when two rival programs are going to get together. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You just do it. And that's what makes college football great is those rivalries, prime time. I think both programs deserved it. Whatever. We're going to get a damn good game out of it. But man, that noon slot is rough. I think 3:30, like if you were kind of hoping for the best of both worlds, 3:30 seemed to make the most sense.
I'm just excited for the game. I was bummed out that it was noon. I thought either of the other two slots would have been much more exciting for the environment and the energy and the vibe and just the feel of it. I did say I feel like this is probably best case scenario for Michigan actually.
Yeah, and Blake said as much. Yeah,
and winning the game, and not having to deal with all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it is a huge matchup, and it is going to be front and center in the college football world. I am kind of interested to see how people are talking about it, what the national feel is. I'm not sure what the best way to gauge that is, really. I mean, obviously, the teams the broadcast teams that are there are not going to they're not going to speak down on what they're doing. So you're not going to really get a feel from them, but I don't know. I think it's really cool. It's huge. It's obviously huge for us. The Michigan State media market is going crazy about this. And it's the biggest game that I'm going to cover. I think at this point, having been doing this this is my 8th season, and it's only my 2nd time going to East Lansing. As a person who covered recruiting, I just didn't have to go on the road before. I went to one Michigan State game just because it was simple enough to just hop in the car and go. It didn't really add any, it wasn't like a flight. It wasn't another hotel room. It wasn't a lot of food out on the road. It was just get in the car, go to the game and check it out. So I'm excited to be back there. Obviously the magnitude of this one is huge. And, Jim Harbaugh undefeated as a player and a coach. Will that continue? We will see in a few days. And I wanted to ask you this too, Chris, because they put me on the spot with this question earlier today. And I straight up said, I have gone back and forth in my head so many times about how I feel like this game is going to look. And I honestly feel like every possible outcome I come up with is realistic, which meaning Michigan State by 14, Michigan State by 1 or 3, Michigan by 14 or 20 or by 3 or by 1 with a last-second field goal, a shootout, both teams scoring in the 30s, or like a 10-13 game at the end. Weather, might be a factor. The running game, both teams, the DBs on both sides. Like I really cannot pin down what this game is going to look like, or how it's going to finish, or who's going to win, or what the final score is going to be. Like I don't know if I've ever felt. I use the word clueless. Like I like to think I know what the hell's going on most of the time. I feel pretty clueless going into this one. I really do. I would not want to put any kind of wager on what I think this game is going to look like, what the final score is going to be, or even who's going to win the damn thing at this point on Wednesday night.
I think my biggest concern is that you see the game starts to go at a really quick pace, and guys like Naylor and Reed are getting down the field, and you're starting to see, a high up tempo. Like, I don't want to see that. I don't want Michigan to get in a shootout, and I don't think Michigan wants to get in a shootout either. I think that, I hope what we see is probably, more of like that sort of, like somebody said in the comments, sort of a backyard brawl where two teams, it's like a fist fight, between, two kids that hate each other, two brothers. And I hope it's low scoring. And I think that will work to Michigan's favor. If this thing gets into like a track meet and you get those wide receivers from Michigan State getting in the end zone, I haven't seen Michigan yet enough to where I feel confident that they can strike quickly enough to stay with a team that's putting points on the board early. I haven't seen it yet. So if we get into that, if we start to see Sparty putting points on the board early, I'm going to be nervous.
There's quite a few things that make me nervous about this game, and some of them are Michigan State credited, and some of them are Michigan credited. I mean, but I feel this is another reason why I can't quite figure out what this game is going to look like, because I feel like almost everything you can say from a Michigan standpoint that worries you could say the exact same thing from Michigan State's side. Like the same things that Michigan is concerned with, I feel like Michigan State is also concerned with. Both secondaries, not very good. Both running games, really good. Both passing games, Michigan State might have an edge right there. Both defensive lines, I think you could make an argument that Michigan's a little better there. Like there's enough give and take in both directions here that make it really, really hard to figure out what's going to happen.
I got those, just so you know, Brandon, as you're making these points, I've got those numbers in front of me. So as you're talking about what the averages are, whatever, if you want any of those numbers, let me know.
Yeah, I mean, let's go for it. I think if I'm not mistaken, Michigan State has the worst. Is it the worst pass defense in the Big Ten?
They are. Well, let's see on their defense. Let me go to their defense. I mean, on OddsShark, it's got them ranked at 122nd. So
that's pretty bad.
But Michigan's also ranked 104th. In rushing yards, Michigan's ranked 5th. Michigan State's ranked 29th. Time on the field, time of possession, Michigan ranked 14. Michigan State ranked 118. And I think that speaks to, those quick scores by guys like Kenneth Walker and Naylor and getting points on the board quickly. They don't have a lot of time of possession. Yards per play, Michigan has the edge. Number of plays.
I'll say this time of possession, I feel like it's worth about as much as this purple Skittle right now.
I mean, if you're scoring, it doesn't. Yeah.
I don't think it's that valuable in today's brand of college football. Back in the day, when every team was running the ball with one running back 35 times, like it was important, but now it's not. You don't have to possess the ball all day long to put up a lot of points and win games. So, we'll see how that one plays out.
Yeah, if you look at them, they've got things that they do well. Each team. I mean, they're evenly matched, and I think you were right when you said it. Like, you can sit back and you can try to picture how this game is going to go in your mind. It could turn out to be a barn burner where teams are, where both are in the upper 30s, 40s, and it could be a 10-7 game at the end of it. And I wouldn't be surprised to see either outcome. And you're right. I don't know. It feels like you say that a lot in the Big Ten, but for this one in particular, I just think you're really not sure where you're going to get out of these two teams. And I think a lot of it's because everybody's so high on them. And if there's one thing both fan bases have in common, they don't think that they've really played anybody yet. So both sides are going into this weekend pretty nervous.
I was just going to throw this comment up. I was looking at this exact one from Matthew in the comment section. Sparty hasn't played a team over 5. They haven't even played a 500 team. Now, forget over 500. Every team they have beat has a losing record. Every single one. Michigan on the flip side has played 3 teams with a winning record. 2 of them are MAC schools. Both Western Michigan and Northern Illinois are above 500. And Wisconsin is now above 500 after beating Purdue last weekend. They're 4-3. So, yeah, I don't think either team can point to a game that they've won and be like, look at that win, though. Look at that win we got right there. I think Michigan has a slight upper hand in that area, but it's not by a lot. I mean,
and that's why this game is so big, because do you understand the difference between a win and loss in this one, and how that's going to impact each program and each fan base? A win in this game on Saturday is going to be monumental for whichever side gets it, but a loss whether it happens in East Lansing or whether it's the Wolverines that suffer the loss. It's going to be brutal because each side kind of views this as like your first legitimate shot to prove what you're worth. Everybody's going to be looking at it. And obviously you want to be the side that comes out with a W. And we obviously know what's at stake for Michigan. So
you got the trophy, the Paul Bunyan trophy. I'm sure we're going to see some Paul Bunyan poses as first done by Donovan Peoples-Jones, but now people are going to be running with that, I'm sure, in Saturday's game. This is kind of let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. Darren from the comment section says that seems like Michigan is still getting no love by many. I don't know if I feel that way. I feel like a lot of people are pretty torn and kind of viewing this thing back and like I am. I'm not hating on Michigan State because I want them to lose. I'm not pumping up Michigan because I want them to win. It just really feels like this could go either way, and both teams have just enough question marks in some key spots where I think it could make the difference in the game. And big picture, I think Michigan is a 4.5-point favorite right now in the game in East Lansing on the road. So I don't know if I really agree with that, Darren. I'm not trying to call you out, but I just feel like it's been pretty objective from national people to people in both markets. I haven't seen any. I mean, there's the loudmouth dinks in every fan base that are like, oh, they're going to kick their ass. And I'm like, all right, just back it down a little bit. You see that. But I think from level-headed discussions that I've seen pretty much across the board, I've seen a lot of things in both directions. I don't feel like anybody's really getting slighted, and I don't feel like anybody's getting way more love than they should at this point. I don't know. What have you seen? I mean, we both hang out on different social media platforms.
I feel like there is a want and a desire to believe in Michigan by a good portion of this fan base, but the track record is what the track record is. And so if a good portion of people aren't willing to dive in head first and fully commit, the reason they're not willing to do that are things like 0-8 on the road against top 15 teams. Jim Harbaugh has not won in the type of situation he's going to face on Saturday. So if you feel confident in Michigan going into the weekend, God bless you, and that's great. But when you look at the numbers and you look at the trends and you look at the fact that Jim just hasn't done it yet, the smart money is on the fact that, 0-8 is probably more likely to become 0-9 than 1-8, right? So that's not a matter of I think Michigan gets plenty of love for a program that routinely comes up short. I think if Michigan does what they're supposed to do, comes out on top, and proves that this is different, I think the national media will slurp this program left and right. But I think people are finally at a point with the University of Michigan where it's like, you know what? Do it. We want to put you in the top 5. We want to have you in the playoffs, but goddamn it, you got to go out and win the games. So until they do that, if you want to be reserved and sit back as a fan, please do that, because we've seen Michigan win 7 games before. Michigan wins 7 games a lot. Yes, they're 7-0, but those 7 wins aren't going to warm my cockles. Michigan State's going to warm my cockles. Penn State's going to warm my cockles, and you better believe Ohio State's going to warm my cockles.
It's a lot of cockles in a one sentence span, but I'm here.
I had to get it out.
I'm fine with it. I'll throw this one up there too. Jimmy, also from the comment section, living in South Carolina, where I used to live, little shout out. Most people there think that neither team has played anyone and that this game will dictate if either team is as good as their rankings. Jimmy, if you want to throw this in the comment too, as I kind of throw the question back at you, what do you say? What's the defense to people saying they haven't played anybody? What can you say? For Michigan State, I just went through it. They literally have not played a team that with a winning record or even 500. Every single team they've played has a losing record. Michigan has played 3 teams with a winning record. 2 of them are from the MAC, and the other one's Wisconsin, who obviously is not the Wisconsin that we've grown used to seeing. I mean, they're fine. They're 4-3. They just did beat a Purdue team that was riding kind of high, but that's not the Wisconsin team that beat Michigan by 40 points last year. I mean, it's just not.
But if they beat Michigan at home, then maybe are you looking at Wisconsin a little bit? I mean, everything is so fragile this year, I feel like. And it always goes back to they beat the teams that are on their schedule. And look around at college football and how many, and I'm just kind of talking out loud here, but how many teams around college football can say that at this point? And out of the 130 or 40 teams, I think there's maybe 8 at this point, and 2 of them are in the Big Ten. 2 of them are in the Big Ten East, and they're both in the state of Michigan. So again, all you can do is take care of business and beat the teams that are in front of you. But this is where you really prove it. And there's so many people that don't understand why guys like us might be a little bit hesitant to be excited about 7-0. It's because we've seen 7 wins before. If Michigan ends up going 10-2 and you know where those 2 losses are going to come, did the 7-0 start really mean all that much? And I think that's where a lot of people are at is, yes, this feels good, but you make your money in the second half of the season. So let's see what they do. And if they come out and win, I am more than happy to sit back and say, damn it, all those concerns I had, like, they've got it figured out. I was wrong. We're good to go.
Yeah, CJ, I'm kind of with you. You play who you play. I mean, you play the good teams when they come up, and you try to win those games, and all you can do is beat the teams that come on the schedule every week. I mean, shoot, they haven't played anyone. They haven't played anyone. Crowd, like, what are you telling Penn State this week? They just lost to Illinois. Alabama lost to Texas A&M. Oregon lost to Stanford. Clemson's got 3 losses, for crying out loud. I mean, like,
man, they look awful.
Yeah,
awful.
They do. They really do. For the way they've recruited and the kind of talent.
How the hell does that happen? I don't want to get out of, but I was watching that game and I'm thinking to myself, like, how, when your program is rolling like that, how the hell does that happen? How does it completely fall off?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, so I hate might be too strong a word. I mean, I get where you're coming from. You can only play who you can play, but I do think there's some value to looking at, like, all right, well, 7-0 Michigan State's not like they've handed 7 teams their only loss or something. Like, they're playing against pretty bad teams. It's not their fault. They still lined up and they still took it to them. They still won every game they've played. So there is value in that. But I think it's worth discussing that neither team really has like a signature hang your hat, incredible win this year. Neither team really has that. I mean, I've owned it, Thomas. I'm not really sure. Yeah, I did pick Wisconsin. Yeah. I was wrong. Wisconsin's not as good as I thought they would be, and Michigan did something that they typically don't do. They went on the road and won a game against a team that I thought was better than they are.
Not since, what was it? Not since 2001 they had won in Madison?
I'm not sure what you're pointing out there. I'm aware that I picked Wisconsin to beat Michigan, and I was wrong on that one. I mean, it is what it is.
We did not pick them to go 12-0 this year, so we did pick a couple of losses.
No, but even myself, who was not very high on Michigan coming into the season this year and had 7-5 circled all year, I was only like a toss-up game against Washington away from them being 6-1 right now. That's what I thought would happen. I thought Wisconsin was a loss. I thought that at the beginning of the year, picked it the week of the game, was flat out wrong. I mean, not even close. They handled Wisconsin in Madison. So even someone like me who had them at 7-5 and thought Washington was a bit of a toss-up preseason. Remember, when week 2 rolled around, I picked Michigan to beat Washington after they fell to Montana and just did not look very good. I mean, like, I got to that point and I had them at 6-1. Yeah. So that's where that they haven't beat anyone crowd kind of can say some things, because even if you were pretty down on Michigan like I was, I had them at like 5-2 at the absolute worst.
There are guaranteed wins built into that schedule already.
Yes, and changed my mind about Washington once that game actually got there and we saw both teams play a game. Wisconsin, hand to God, I was wrong as hell. They went in there, they beat them. They're 7-0. No one had them 7-0 unless you just pick Michigan to go undefeated every year, which some people do. That's fine. It is what it is. But like to the weak schedule crowd, there's a little bit of legitimacy to it, because even if you didn't think Michigan was going to be that good this year, i.e. me, I had them at 7-5. Where I had them at this point in the season isn't far off from where they are right now. I'm not trying to spin it around to make it say it was close. I'm just saying every other game that they won, like, everybody had them winning those ones. Western, Northern Illinois, Rutgers, Nebraska. I mean, Nebraska ended up being a tougher game on the road, but Nebraska's not good. They've been terrible under Scott Frost. Nobody was picking them to lose that game at the beginning of the season, even when I thought they were going to lose 5 games. So, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you play who you play, you win what you can win, and now they've got to do it on a level this Saturday that I don't think they've seen yet. Both teams. Both teams are going to face someone or something they have not faced yet this year, and that's why this is it's so hard to kind of figure out. I don't know. What do you think is more likely? Do you think more likely is like a lot of points, or is more likely like a, really low scoring back and forth slobber knocker all day long?
I see like a 21-17 type, just kind of spend the afternoon beating the shit out of each other. And then in the fourth quarter, there's an opportunity for both teams to win it. But at some point it just, one or the other, maybe it's a turnover late that dictates it. But I can't imagine that, like I said at the beginning of the show, if this thing turns into you got guys like Naylor and Reed running down the field and Kenneth Walker getting in, and you've got, like 2 play drives for 90 some yards and shit like that happening, I think Michigan's going to be in some trouble. So my hope and my thought process is that we're probably going to see a little bit more of a fist fight, 21-17-ish. I don't want to give out my prediction yet.
Yeah, we're not going to, I don't even have one. I flat out don't even have one yet. I started putting together the know the enemy for the Michigan State people because they put one together for me, and I don't even have a score yet. I'm like, I don't know, dude. I can't come up with it yet. I can't call it, and I'm not even trying yet. And I honestly, they put me on the spot today on the radio, and they said, all right, if you don't have a score, what do you see? And it's Wednesday night. I really think I'm leaning towards Michigan State by a hair right now. And that's just kind of how I see it. Now, I've already gone back and forth multiple times in my own head. I'm like, no, dude, Michigan's going to win this thing. Like, they're just better. But then I think about the explosive plays, the being able to move the ball quickly through the air at home. Oh man, dude, I don't know.
I don't want to believe that our team can lose a game. I don't want to believe that Michigan can lose a game in 2021. This has been such a fun ride that I can't imagine what a Saturday is going to feel like with a loss, especially if the first one comes this weekend. Like that's another layer to this, like there has just been such a high and a euphoria around Ann Arbor and around this team and positivity. To have potentially a first loss come this way would just be, it would be devastating. So, I mean, you have to win the game. You just have to win the game.
Adrian Martinez, the Nebraska quarterback, is in our live stream. No, that's probably not him, but what am I thinking? I'm thinking that Michigan doesn't win these types of games ever. That's part of what I'm thinking.
You're thinking 0-8, and you're thinking 0-14 since 2010, and you're thinking they haven't done it since 2006 in South Bend against number 2 Notre Dame. So, how many years since 2006? And Jim Harbaugh is 0-8 on the road against top 15 teams. So that's what's going through your mind.
Yeah,
it literally, you have nothing to compare it to. If there was one top 15 team or top 15 road win, you could have something to like say, well, you see, but there's nothing over there. There's nothing. So all you're pointing at on the other side is hope. And it's great if you have that hope and belief. You need that as a fan. But the reality side of things is just, you look at the numbers and you're like, it doesn't look good.
All right, Chris, I hate to do it, but they asked me on the radio today. I've seen it come comments a couple times already. Is this is a burning question, even though we don't have the music going on Monday. Is this the JJ McCarthy coming out party?
No, because I picture it being more like what we talked about before. I think at this point, here's how I view it. I think it would be, let me say, I want to say a couple of things. I think it would be shitty to throw JJ into a situation in East Lansing where the team is struggling and ask your freshman quarterback to bail you out when you haven't given him ample opportunity in the first 7 weeks to get meaningful reps. So that I will say. But I think at this point, I think Jim Harbaugh is just committed to Cade McNamara. And I think outside of how fair it would be, I think you're right. I think he's decided Cade has gotten us this far. We're going to ride him as far as he can get us. And I think it's going to take a loss before you have the potential of seeing any significant change. Now, I say it's not fair to JJ. On the flip side of that, please believe that JJ would love the opportunity to come in as a true freshman with the Wolverines down and try to sneak a win out in East Lansing. But, I don't see it happening. It seems a little bit too idealistic. I think we're going to see Cade the majority of the afternoon.
I said the exact same thing on the radio earlier today. I don't think it's going to look any different. I think if it was going to, it would have by now. I don't think this is the week you want to experiment with something like that and see like, oh, well, let's see what we got. Let's see if we can figure something out. Now, that doesn't mean I do think there might be a slight wrinkle there might be a slight wrinkle with JJ that we haven't seen as like this whole like why do they just bring him in to hand it off or run? I don't think we'll be asking that question. I think he's going to throw it this week, maybe a little bit more than he has in the past, but I don't think it's going to be any different than what we've seen in terms of how much he's playing. I'm trying to pull those numbers up right now while I'm talking. How much he's playing, how often he comes in the game. Looking for JJ McCarthy's name. He has played a total of 74 snaps this year. So roughly 10 a game. I think he didn't play in, 2 games at this point, maybe just one against Washington. That might have been the only one.
That's the only one I know for sure.
But I think that's more of what it's going to look like. He's going to be in for maybe 8, 10, 12, 15 snaps. You might see him throw it a couple of times. I think he's going to run it a little bit, and I think he's going to hand it off and do the zone read. That's what I think we're going to see out of him. That's going to qualify as a coming out party, or this is when Harbaugh finally unleashes JJ. Like I do not see that happening.
That sounds good for a movie script, but I just don't see that playing out in reality. I go back to the fact that I feel like if that was going to be the case, it just seems like I don't know how you put him in that type of situation now when you haven't taken the opportunity. That's the thing though. That's the kicker. It's not like, look, I don't want to complain just to complain, but there were legitimate opportunities to like give him significant time that wouldn't have done any damage to what they were trying to do with Cade McNamara, but would have prepared JJ more. So that's the part I don't understand, especially because they burned the red shirt. If they didn't burn the red shirt, then I get it, but the red shirt's already burned. So we'll see. I don't think it's going to be the coming out party, but I think you're right. We'll see a few wrinkles in there and that'll be it.
Yeah. I mean, he's played, he's done some nice things, a couple nice runs last week, but we still haven't really seen him when it really matters in a key, crucial part of a game, step back and throw multiple passes. He's thrown some nice balls,
right?
But it's a different feel when you're up 20 or 30 and you're going in, you're like, I'll swing it around a little bit. Like I do kind of think JJ has that mentality regardless of what's on the scoreboard or how much time is left. I mean, that's part of what made him, the kind of recruit that he was, but it's a different animal. Like if they do decide to play him when it really, really matters and Michigan's down by a touchdown or in a tie game in the second half in East Lansing, like, I don't know if we see JJ running around loosey-goose with the ball and fighting off a guy and throwing it 60 yards across the field. I don't know if you do something like that.
Can we at least say, though, if at this point, because we've heard it throughout the first 7 weeks of the season that, this idea that Michigan's holding back, that there's a bag of tricks they haven't dipped into yet. And there's obviously truth to that. They have not used everything they have in the playbook. But if there is a game where you're going to open it up, if Michigan gets into a game with Michigan State and they need offense, we can agree that this is the game you open it up, right? You're not going to take a loss in East Lansing for the sake of hiding your playbook for Ohio State. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is whatever you think Michigan's been holding back to this point, what it looks like on Saturday is what it is. There, at this point, with this type of game, a top 10 game, you're not holding anything back. You've got to win the damn game. So I think that's the reason why people look at this and say, yeah, we're going to find out who they are, because a lot of people think they've just kind of been putting on a front. They're not showing all their goodies. And I think they're going to have to show them in East Lansing.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely some truth to, maybe a slight wrinkle here or using a guy a little bit differently here, but like, I just don't think it's going to look that much different. I mean, like you might see a different play call that you haven't seen, but they don't have some entire chapter of a playbook with all brand new formations and JJ doing a whole bunch of stuff and Cade sitting on the side.
It's like when you open the book up, it like gives you a bright shining light comes out that it's like those are the plays.
Like in Pulp Fiction, when opens the briefcase.
Gaddis looks around at the receivers. It's time.
Yeah, let's get it, guys.
That'd be great.
Finally, we can unleash this fury. Yeah, I just don't see that happening.
Y'all remember Speed in Space?
I don't see that happening. I think we'll see JJ like we've seen him all season. Couple plays here, couple plays there. He'll probably do something nice. They'll get pulled back out. And then I don't know. That's what I think we're going to see.
Oh,
I saw somebody put this in the comment up there. I can't remember exactly how it was worded, but it's basically you can ask it both directions because I said there's question marks in both directions. Both teams are trying to figure things out this week as they implement the game plan. Where is Michigan State going to be able to exploit a weakness, and where is Michigan going to be able to exploit a weakness? I think it might actually be the same answer. So,
I think we saw against Indiana, keeping Kenneth Walker between the tackles was effective, and that's a way that you can shut down the running game. Now, the problem is for Michigan, if you shut down the running game, that means Michigan State's going to pass, which is going to put pressures on your corners. And I'm not sure. If there's any area of this Michigan football team that I have the least amount of confidence in right now, it's in the secondary, because they haven't seen guys like Naylor and Reed. And I think there's a third receiver there that's getting close to like 20%. Trey Mosley. So they've got some fast guys. They've got some playmakers there. And I don't think they've seen anything quite like that this year. So if Michigan does put a cap on Kenneth Walker, that's going to be the matchup right there. It's going to be Michigan's corners versus Michigan State's receivers, and we're going to see who can win. And that matchup makes me nervous.
Let me ask you this, and obviously it comes down to defenses being able to do it. But let's just say in a hypothetical world, I don't know, it's not going to get like this because both teams can obviously run the ball. Kenneth Walker's been impressive all year long. Michigan's 1-2 punch of Haskins and Blake Corum, 20 rushing touchdowns on the season. Both of them can run the ball. But if, let's say, the Big Ten gets together, they create a rule for Saturday's game, Chris. No handoffs allowed. No handoffs allowed. Then who wins the game?
Michigan State.
Yeah.
They've just got more experience. Their top three receivers have 75 receptions. Michigan's top three receivers, I think, has like 41 receptions. Their top three receivers have like 12 touchdowns. Michigan's top three receivers has 5 touchdowns. They've just got more experience when they need to go to the passing game. They've done it enough this year to where Michigan State fans, they can at least sit back. Like, think about that. Michigan State fans can at least sit back and say, we've got a damn good passing game. We know what we've got in the receivers, and we've got a damn good running. Like, they don't know a lot about their team, but they know that. I think a lot of Michigan fans are still holding out about this passing game because we're just not sure. We know we got a solid running game, but again, even without a solid passing attack, it's having an impact on the rushing attack. They're not as productive as they were the first part of the year. So it all plays off of each other.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. I think Michigan State 100. This is where the defensive matchup is interesting to me. Michigan State 1,000% wants to shut down Blake Corum and Hassan Haskins, because if they do that, then it's on Cade McNamara to win the game and make plays.
Isn't that what you would do?
That's what I would do. That he flat out has not made this year. To your point about Indiana keeping Kenneth Walker between the tackles and trying to wrangle him a little bit, I don't know if it's in Michigan's best interest to bottle up Kenneth Walker so then Michigan State has to throw it all over the place. I don't know if that's what they want to do. And that's why I think I'm leaning a little bit towards Michigan State, because they're more I know that they can make big plays in the passing game because they've done it pretty consistently all year.
Yeah.
Mike
McDonald's going to have to earn his money this weekend. It's been all good, but everybody's been kumbaya so far. But these are the games that matter the most to Michigan fans, and we don't. I feel like a broken record continuing to say it, but after this weekend, whatever the result is, you're going to know a lot about your team, and you're going to know this is the first chance for each program whether or not to go up against a legitimate opponent, a for real opponent, a top 10 opponent, and I think whoever comes out on the losing side of this is just going to have a rough go of it for a little while.
Well,
I can't go another year listening to Michigan State fans talk shit. I can't do it. This will be 2 years now. I already had to deal with COVID. Then I had to deal with Spartans talking shit as a 21-point favorite. I was so confident in that game. So confident.
I was too. I remember tweeting.
I was cashing checks.
The week before that, Michigan State lost to Rutgers, and I was like, this thing, and then Michigan had just beaten up on Minnesota. I was like, this game is going to be so ugly next week in Ann Arbor.
I used the term bloodbath.
Yeah.
Bloodbath.
Yeah. I mean, you probably weren't alone.
Yeah.
I also think that, well, let me ask you this. All right. We both grew up playing the video games, right? NCAA, Madden, whatever. We'll go with NCAA since we're talking college football, obviously. Give me your overall rating for Cade McNamara. He's your quarterback on NC Dub. What's his overall rating? I'm going to say.
You want the first number that came to mind?
Hold on. I've got two numbers written down. I'm going to do the same thing with Payton Thorne, so you can ask me there too. I've got two numbers written down. I wrote them and I circled them. Let me see what you wrote for Cade. What you come up with for Cade?
73.
Okay. And Payton Thorne?
85.
See, dude, that in college we're real close. I don't know if everybody can see that. I said 76 for Cade, 83 for Thorne. So I had him closer than you did even.
Yeah.
But I think that is huge. That is huge because I think in college football, if you have the better quarterback, you have a chance to, you have such an upper hand. You have such an upper hand. And I don't think, wherever you put those numbers, if you think, I would be shocked if anybody had Cade higher than Payton Thorne. I think if you do that, you can't envision anybody from Michigan State being better than your beloved Wolverines.
Sure. And that's fine
you'd have no argument, in my opinion, to say that based on what we've seen this year. So I think with that, Michigan State has the better quarterback. They have a slightly more balanced offense, and they're at home.
I ask you?
I hate the words that are coming out of my mouth, but do you see where I'm going with?
I see. Let me ask you this, because I don't have it in recent memory. What is the last Big Ten team that won a conference championship playing this type of brand of football that Michigan's playing offensively? I don't recall. Like, was it Michigan State 20? Like, even Michigan State 2015 feels more explosive.
That's a great question. And my buddy Michael Spath actually put together some research the other day. The last Big Ten champion.
This was unprompted, by the way. I don't want people to think this was a setup. I'm genuinely curious.
The last 10 Big Ten champions, there literally has never, through 7 games, right? We only have 7 games to go off of for Cade right now. There literally has not been a quarterback that has looked like this through 7 games. The only thing, like in a couple areas, there has not been one quarterback across the board that has looked like this. So, like for instance, Cade McNamara has thrown the ball 146 times through 7 games. I couldn't believe this. But in 2019, Justin Fields had only thrown the ball 141 times through 7 games.
Wow. Okay.
But guess what? Justin Fields had 22 touchdowns. Cade's got 5. Yeah. So, like, you start to look at some of these numbers. The percentages, Cade is at 63%. In 2016, Trace McSorley was 55%. So that's the one number that was like lower than Cade. But then across the board, he had like 500 more yards. He had doubled them up in touchdown passes.
But that's a perfect example, though. Would you take Trace McSorley or Cade McNamara if you could choose?
I'd take McSorley.
Exactly. More dynamic, right? Gamer, dynamic. He could get out of the pocket. He could make things. So my point is, even though he may be lower in that category, you're still going to take him over McNamara because it doesn't really tell the whole story.
There's absolutely no question.
McNamara must hate us. You think he hates us?
I don't care. There's no question.
What happened if we went out, huh?
What happened? There's no question that Trace McSorley won games for Penn State while he was there.
Yeah, he was a baller.
Can you say that about Cade McNamara at this point? Because that's what a lot of people
yes, you can. Piscataway on the road.
You can't say anything. He's 7-0. But are they 7-0 because of Cade? Are they 7-0 just with him being there? Are they 7-0 in spite of Cade? I don't think I would go that far either. He hasn't done anything to lose any games.
He's not turning the ball over, and I think that's what people point to.
That's big. That is a big deal.
He's doing what's asked of him. He's not turning the ball over. It's like bread with butter on it. It's not like super exciting, but it fills your belly and gives you the calories you need to go about your day. And I think people just want. It's not like there's an issue with it. I'm not going to go down that road. I'm not going to go off on that.
Let me just throw a couple of
just win.
Three quarterbacks had a lower completion percentage through 7 games that ended up winning the Big Ten title. That was Trace McSorley in 2016 for Penn State. Connor Cook for Michigan State in 2015, and Connor Cook for Michigan State in 2013. But all three of those guys had a minimum 400 yards more passing and a minimum. So Trace McSorley only had 9 touchdown passes at the time through 7 games. Connor Cook had 13 both of those years. And Cade McNamara is the lowest of any of the quarterbacks when it comes to yards per attempt. So it's like teams just they're not winning. They're not winning with this formula. And we're gonna if it happens, if Michigan is able to beat Michigan State, beat Penn State, and be competitive and maybe beat Ohio State, it'll be the first time that a quarterback has ever done it like this. So either they're operating in uncharted waters, or it's not going to work. That's
what the big hang up right now is, and everybody sort of points to this weekend. I mean, geez, I thought I was really excited to. Can you believe I'm thinking back over the offseason when we were talking about that week 2 matchup, and we're like, the fork in the road, we're gonna know who they are. And now here we are going into week 8, and I still don't know who this damn team is.
Washington.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, not so much.
Everybody's been waiting to kind of figure out what this team is, and I feel like this is it. Like there's nowhere to go from here. Like these two teams are both really, really good. And if Michigan can win in East Lansing with this brand of football, then more power to them. But to your point, and to kind of what we were talking about, we just haven't seen this brand of football win on a big scale.
I'm going to pull up another comment from Cody. Maybe there is no fork this year. Maybe it's forkless season until you get to Ohio State at the end of the year, because Penn State doesn't look very good at this point either. Dude,
this is the fork. This is it.
Michigan could be freaking 11-0 when Ohio State comes to town.
Okay, now hold up.
That is a realistic possibility at this point.
Yes, they could be, but following Saturday, they could also be 7-1 with a loss to East Lansing.
Yeah.
And so when you say you don't think there's a fork in the road, I want you to picture that scenario and tell me there's not a fork in the road this weekend. If Michigan loses this weekend in East Lansing, there is certainly a fork in the road. And you'll see it on social media. You'll see the way the fan reaction is. It's going to be the same old. Michigan can't beat the team. They can't beat the rivals. That's all it's going to be. And then you know what? At that point, nothing matters until Ohio State. Nothing. You're going to care about Indiana? You're going to care about Maryland? You're going to care about Penn State at that point? No.
Here's an interesting question that I think somebody put this up in the comments. We did Payton Thorne. We did Cade McNamara. What's JJ McCarthy's rating on NC Dub? I put this in a tough spot now.
91 or 93. He's fast. He's creative. He's accurate. He could get the ball down the field.
What?
91 or 93?
Call Jim Harbaugh right now. Say
91
Jim?
or 93. Look at me. Hold on. No, wait. Hold on. If you were going to play the video game, we've played the video games before. Yeah. You go out. Who are you putting out there based on the skill set you've seen so far? You know where you're going to go.
I always played the quarterback with more speed. I didn't care if there was a 30-point discrepancy in overall.
Speed counts for a lot. Speed kills. Speed is dangerous. Creativity, ice water in your veins, that type of gunslinger. I'm just going to whip the ball across the field, and I don't give a shit because that's how I play. I'm a football player.
Maybe his awareness and his propensity to turn the ball over is down in the 40s, bro.
Dude, the kid meditates before games. He's a 93. He's a 93.
93?
He's meditating.
No,
he's a true freshman meditating under the goalpost. He might be a 98. I don't know. The more we talk about him, the higher he climbs.
A 93 would be the first ever true freshman 93 in the history of NCAA.
rocking the Jordan 11 cleats.
The absolute best players to ever be on that game as true freshmen were like 83s, maybe. Do you remember the game? I spent a lot of hours on that game.
I didn't really pay attention to other people's numbers. Mine were always just shot up to 99, and then I balled out.
Even my created players weren't 93s as freshmen. Are you kidding me, dude?
Oh, wow. Okay, well, but I was also playing for Eastern Michigan. I had to. I was
man.
carrying everybody on my back.
Ryan, get your boy. Come get your boy right here. I'm telling you, dude. 90s? I didn't think you were going to go there. I did not think you were going to go there at all. I did not think
I think it may be more of a desire. But 91, 93, I'm sorry. You might not like it. That might make you feel uncomfortable. 78. And we got Cade at a 70, what? 75, 73, 76. You're giving JJ 2 points on Cade?
Yep.
That's just flat out disrespectful. I
I
don't even know that we can continue the show.
That's it, dude. He's thrown the ball 14 times, bro. See,
I understand, and I've seen everything I need to see in those 14 throws.
This is where I'm at. This is why, people have gotten mad about things about like, why are you doing the quarterback controversy? I have never once like pounded the table and said, put Cade on the bench and start JJ. I haven't even gone there because I know that the potential is higher for JJ. It's higher. There's no doubt about it that it's higher. But you don't know. You don't know exactly what you might get in a full, throwing the ball 30 times a game, having to make checks at the line, having to get people. I don't know. I don't know, man. 93. I can't even think straight right now, dude. I can't even.
It goes Rudy, Trevor Lawrence, Tim Tebow,
Willie
JJ
Beaman.
McCarthy.
Willie Beaman. Anybody know that reference? Throw it in the comments if you know the Willie Beaman reference.
Somebody asked for Blake Corum. All right, so legit for Blake Corum, I give him like 88, 89. Yeah,
it's a fun. So you
hi. No, wait, hold on now. Listen, Brandon, put the headset back on. Come back to earth. Now listen to me, Brandon. You're asking me to grade out the two what I believe to be top players at the University of Michigan. The fact that I gave one a low 90 and a high 80, that's not saying anything. If you got 2 or 3 guys on your squad at that rating,
McCarthy 5 points higher than Blake Corum.
Yeah, plays a different position. He's got to do more. He's the point guard. The awareness counts, the reads, the calls. It's all important. Look, I'm not trying to downgrade
right now
Blake Corum's importance. I'm just saying, in terms of importance on the team, we know it's the QB. Guy's driving the bus. Give me JJ. And you know what? I just bumped it up to 97. Are we losing viewers right now?
No, they're hanging in there. They're hanging in there strong.
God bless all of you.
See, I knew somebody would come through. Willie Beaman. Somebody would come through with it. That's the song. That's the song.
All right.
Creaming. That's it, dude.
I'm not up on that one yet.
That's Jamie Foxx playing quarterback on any given Sunday. Come on, Chris.
Okay. Hey, look, those movies I got to get up on.
Listen. Chris,
don't go down this road.
No,
don't go down. Don't out me.
Chris just said that JJ McCarthy is a 93 overall. Chris also has never seen Boys in the Hood
and
Menace to Society.
That is egregious.
There was one more. There was another movie.
What prompted this conversation? I hate to go off track here, but what prompted it is I've seen Don't Be a Menace. So we were talking about that. I didn't understand. I didn't understand that Don't Be a Menace was like a playoff of all of these other movies. So that's what led to the conversation. Now I feel like I got to watch all these other movies to make Don't Be a Menace make sense. But don't take away my street. My street cred is all I have. So just ease up, Brandon.
93.
Yeah, 93. That's right. I said it. A 93. Speed, big arm, meditates. Okay. 93.
What's his speed rating? What speed rating do you give JJ McCarthy?
Probably like an 81.
Okay. All right. I'm okay. I was thinking like 83,
84. No, dude, it's the collective package. It's all of it together that brings him the 93. I'm telling you, dude, he's a rare breed. Like, we're being sarcastic here, but I think he possesses some traits that if we were to tap into it, it's magic.
People are like, Boys in the Hood. You haven't seen that. You haven't seen that. Have you seen Friday? You had to have seen Friday.
I've seen Friday. Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen all that. Come on. You know what?
Do I even need to ask? I mean, I know where Chris is going. He's right to the top shelf. What's Aiden's rating?
Same 93, 94. High 90s. Yes, I'm putting JJ there. Hold on a second. Wait, no. Hold on. No. All right, so Brandon can exit. But let me ask all of you guys, is this a career achievement award? Or I'm asking you, Brandon, is this a career achievement award or is this based on abilities? Because if it's based
on abilities,
so there you go. So I put JJ in that high regard. I hold him up there with guys like Aiden Hutchinson. Just because he's younger and he hasn't done it doesn't mean it's not in there.
So I would give Aiden like a 90.
Okay.
I would give Aiden like a 96 overall.
See, higher than me.
Yeah, somewhere in there. I might have to revisit my JJ pick because as I'm going through, like if I was going to I might do this. I might do this and film it and just put some screenshots up of if I was creating JJ McCarthy.
What he would come out to?
Yeah, what he would come out to, because I think I'd have him pretty high on speed. I'd have him real high on arm strength.
IQ,
Pretty
awareness.
those would be the ones I don't know. Those would be the ones that I would almost have to give like a
awareness seems pretty high.
Those would be the ones I would have to give like a default freshman type of score because he just hasn't played enough. But I do think all things considered, he would be ranked higher than Cade McNamara if I was doing the same, attribute for attribute. I think I would give him a higher score than Cade. Now, Payton Thorne, that's an interesting one. What did you say? You said 85 for him. You gave him a mid 80s.
I know. I think I was 83.
I said 83. I have it written down, so I know
you did. Okay, so we were somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
which might be a little bit high for him.
People are just all right, Chris. What would you give Payton for? So he's a 97, probably.
Bro, you couldn't even rank him. He's a cheat code. How about that? That's his rating.
Not even allowed on the game.
Cheat code.
Not even allowed on the game. This is a fun
game. Hey, same with Denard Robinson. I put Denard Robinson up in the 90s, and I bet I'm going to get a lot of pushback on that because he can't throw the football. He can't hit the broadside of a bar.
All right, and he also ran for like 1 billion yards. So he's. I mean, do we even need to ask?
I don't know. You know what? His overall score would be a 69.
His overall,
just do it.
His overall score is just a hammer logo. It's just like a badge, like on 2K. It's not even a number. You just get like a logo. Just call him the hammer. Man, dude, I'm pretty high on JJ.
Not as high as me.
That blows my mind, dude.
Well, you know what? Holler at your boy that also had the Michigan Wolverines at 9-3 preseason. There's something here. There's something up here. I don't know what it is, but there's something in there working and moving around. It's not all craziness.
That was a fun little segment. I had no idea that I was going to launch into the NCAA rating.
I don't even know how we got there. What the hell we were talking about?
I just thought of it because I did write down Thorne versus Cade. I wanted to get into the discussion of who had the better quarterback and how important that was in college football, which I think it's extremely important. I think it might be the most important thing when you look at head-to-head matchups if other things are pretty close. I mean, you can't take like, oh, Liberty's got this stud quarterback that's going to play in the NFL versus like, if Alabama had like Greg McElroy a couple years ago. Like it doesn't work that way. But I'm saying I think if teams are fairly close and you can go to the quarterback and like that's a pretty big leg up. And I don't know how anybody would say that Cade is better than Payton Thorne based on what we've seen through 7 games.
I do want to say, and I think somebody's put this in the comments, and I don't know if they were referring to this, but I do think it's something to keep your eye on Saturday is that Cade McNamara has been kept clean for the entire season. He hasn't taken really many big hits. He hasn't been put in a situation where, he's really been put into the turf pretty hard. I don't know that we're going to see that happen on Saturday, but that's even more reason why a guy like JJ has to be ready because this is going to be a physical game. There's a chance that Michigan State's linebackers, their corners, somebody's going to get to the quarterback on Saturday. And McNamara hasn't been hit. He hasn't really been rattled. So again, it's a new experience for him. It's a new type of defense. And if he starts to take some big hits, you might see JJ in there sooner than you think.
Man, That was a fun little stretch right there. I'm not going to lie. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. I think you can settle a lot of differences fairly that way, because to me, it didn't seem like, Cade being at a 78 and Payton Thorne being at an 83 or whatever. I wasn't like, no, that's crazy. Like that, the JJ stuff we might disagree on, but for the most part, you could settle a lot.
100%. I am going to set my phone up on my tripod and point it at my camera, at my TV. I am going to build
Nerd alert.
Going to build the creative player, JJ McCarthy. I'm going to give him the rankings that I think he deserves, and we're going to find out where he comes out at as an overall player. Maybe Chris ends up being right. Maybe he's a 90. I don't know. I don't think so.
Nah, he'll be in there. I mean, if he's not in the high 80s, then your math is just wrong.
On second glance, I think I do have him too low at 78. I do. I think he's too low.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's based on ability alone, right? It's not based on like his inexperience or what he's done. Like, but we know he's got a cannon. We know he's accurate.
Weather forecast on Saturday, I think it's supposed to be chilly, cloudy, and with a slight chance of rain. Score predictions, Brady. Yeah, we'll be doing that on Friday.
I heard 51 and breezy.
Not quite ready to get into that just yet. I mean, I did tell you that I was leaning ever so slightly towards Michigan State, but I might not be tomorrow, man. I might not be. Honestly,
well, I told you 21-17, but I didn't tell you who had 21 and who had
I have
17.
gone back and forth a lot on this one. So we'll get back into it on Friday, man. That was a fun show. Appreciate everybody hanging out there. Lots of interaction, lots of stuff being thrown at us. So Matthew, he's just going to the well with this joke. I mean, hey, man, if you got a stand-up act and it's working well, just keep talking about it. Yeah, I mean, maybe I will just do one from the bathroom tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see. Listen, everybody, we'll be back on Friday.